there are many issues we have with the Biden administration, many issues we have with the various types of legislation that they're putting out there that's too corporate
We
focused.
like that PROAct.
But the PROAct, to me, that is overall, it is an absolute good piece of legislation. And more than anything else, the most important caveat within that legislation would be the overriding at the federal level of the right to work laws, especially in the state of Florida. Can you speak to the detrimental issues that exist having right to work laws, what that does for labor organizing, and why the PROAct would be such a substantial victory for the labor movement should it come to pass?
Yeah, for sure. So the PROAct is a very important piece of legislation. It stands for protecting the right to organize. What it seeks to do is modernize and codify the Labor's Relation Act. So this is extremely outdated, written in the 30s. But right now, what the PROAct seeks to do is it would heavily fine employers that tend to drag their feet on recognizing a first union contract. So workers go through this entire campaign to say that they want a union, and they vote to join a union to have a collective voice on their workplace. But the employer, because they don't want to share resources. I don't know. Because they want to keep the dollar at the top, because they want to enrich shareholder value. They decide to, not recognize the union as a legitimate entity. So they drag their feet on recognizing that first contract. So what the PROAct does is it would heavily fine the employer until they recognize that union as the legitimate entity for those workers. Not only does it place this responsibility on the employer to do the right thing, but in essence, it would prohibit employers from hiring what they call replacement workers. So when workers engage in collective action, commonly referred to as strikes, withholding their labor, employers are put in a position where they can hire replacement workers in order to keep the labor force active within their organization. What the PROAct does is it makes that activity illegal. So it would put leverage of the workers and take the leverage away from the employees. And the last thing that I wanted to mention about the PROAct is there's something that's commonly referred to as captive audience speeches, right? So Target, Walmart, these large multinational corporations are very popular for this, right? It's done during orientations, it's done during breaks, it's done during pep rallies at work, right? Meetings where you have everyone tuned in to an authority, a member of the management team, and they would talk to you about what the cost of joining a union is, why you shouldn't do it, and if you're approached by a union organizer, these are the steps that you should do. So there are firms, large anti-union firms that develop strategies for this particular purpose, right? To not have workers organize and have it work on their workplace, because they know with this competing interest, they would have to take that money that is concentrated at top CEOs and executives, and it would have to be spread to the people that actually make their organization possible. So the PROAct seeks to really take on corporate America and just corporate governance, really, in the way that we do business in this country. Unfortunately, it takes on right to work in the sense that you're able, when you negotiate a contract, you are able to you are able to negotiate fair agency fees. So, right to work states like Florida, for example, union membership is not a condition of employment, right? Um, as opposed to states up north that have a large union density, have higher wages. Your union membership is a condition of your employment. But in the state of Florida, it's considered right to work for less. Like
Right
I
to
like to
work
call
for
it, right
less.
to work for less.
Didn't say pay.
All right. All right. So what ends up happening is you are an at-will employee. Management can literally pink slip you tomorrow without any justification, without um, any voice to contest that. And that's a problem. And because you're a right to work employee and union membership is not a condition of employment, union dues, therefore, are voluntary.
Right.
And dues are very important to running the entire apparatus of the union. So, with that being said, the PROAct wants to institute what they call fair share fees. And because you can negotiate in a contract that members of the bargaining unit are required to pay fair share fees. Because, regardless of what's being negotiated, they will be the direct beneficiary of that negotiation. So it would really help. Really by pushing back against this freeloading. I hate to call it freeloading, but it is. It's freeloading. Type dynamic where individuals who don't pay union dues but still benefit directly from wages increases and conditions of employment that are negotiated in a contract. So, just a quick blurb for your viewers. If you can make the call to your senators, Marco Rubio and Rick Scott here in the state of Florida, the audience is outside the state of Florida, we would really appreciate that help as well. But Rubio and Scott are going to be very important in passing this bill. So it's, it was promised that if this bill was to reach, the prior administration's desk, that it would be vetoed. But the current administration has pledged commitment to labor. And if we get this passed, it would really be beneficial to a lot of states and a lot of workers who are really fighting for decent wages.
I don't think you can get Rick Scott, but I do think that Rubio is a possibility. And the reason I think Rubio is a possibility is because it is an election year coming up. And I do think, even though it's obviously not, it's going to be a monumental task for Val Demings or Alan Ellison or whoever ends up becoming the nominee to knock off Rubio. If he senses that his seat is vulnerable in any way, he is the kind of person who is likely to go for a major piece of legislation to get people off his back. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't care how you get there, just get there. That's the most important thing. Jen?
Yeah, I mean, Rubio is definitely someone that it seems to be like a pay to play. And if it serves him and it serves his interest at the time, I think he's definitely the weaker link of those two in terms of getting any sort of labor support. So it really comes down to how much pressure comes from labor versus how much money is coming from management into his pocket. Yeah. I mean, that's essentially what it is. So it's can labor be stronger and louder in his ear than his donors? Because clearly he gets money from people that are opposed to the PROAct.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
and
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.